a long time of creating pain out of that egoic delusion. Each human creating pain for themselves. A painful form identity. Not knowing who you are is suffering. Not knowing who you are beyond form is suffering. And so they created a whole world out of that state of consciousness, and they created a lot of pain out of that primary delusion, because that delusion flows into whatever you do and think and experience, is colored, distorted by that delusion. And sooner or later it always turns into pain. So humans have been this, in the collective energy field of the planet, there's an enormous heaviness, which is human pain. And every human carries part of that, in addition to the pain they've experienced in this form as children, residues of pain that people carry inside. Pain body, I call it, which is partly personal, so to speak. Ultimately, nothing is personal. It's nothing to do with who you are, but only in the sense that it comes from your childhood, your past, the past of this form, residues left by suffering that you have gone through in this form. And a large part of it is the collective energy field, the collective pain that is in the human unconscious, the heaviness of that. And that, when I began to teach, I pointed out, when I began to understand this inner transformation that had happened to this form, I began to see that it's intimately connected with surrendering. It's intimately connected with the surrendered state that is totally aligned with now. And I began to teach that. And as, of course, that is the ultimate, the root cause of suffering is the state of non-surrender, which humans have been in for thousands and thousands of years. So I began to teach that there's no need to suffer anymore. And gradually I saw that even those who were able to totally surrender to now still experienced wave movements of pain in their lives, even though they were surrendering. And then I began to learn about the human pain body as I observed that and realized that every human carries his or her share of collective human pain. That's ultimately what the pain body is. It is the manifestation of human unconsciousness, and humans carry it in here, in the body. It is an emotional, an energy field of that is not flowing, life energy that is stagnant, trapped, and manifests either as anger or as great fear or as the heaviness of depression, so it's an energy field of pain that humans carry, and sometimes they don't even know it's there. It's dormant at times, and life works beautifully. You surrender to now, and you might even think, that's it, I've come to the end of it, and then suddenly a little trigger happens, a little thing goes wrong, or even a little thought comes into your head that suddenly proliferates and becomes a trigger for an enormous influx of pain in whatever form, anger, fear, heaviness, of sadness. And suddenly you're completely overtaken by that. And it flows into your mind. It energizes all the mind structures of the ego. It energizes and amplifies the story, all the identifications. And so the me, the self, the mind-made self, becomes extremely empowered through that. The delusion becomes empowered through that pain, human pain. And you start thinking, all thoughts reflecting the energy field of the pain body. So the pain body has moved into your mind and is governing, controlling your thought processes and actually feeding on each thought. You strengthen the pain body through those thought processes, because each thought corresponds to the energy vibrational frequency of the pain body. If it's anger, it will be thoughts of anger. And that's how the pain body renews itself. And so the pain body becomes a self. It becomes, you identify with it as self. You think it's me. It is you, really. It possesses you, so to speak. And it feeds on other people. If it could speak openly, it doesn't say that openly. It wants to make somebody unhappy. And it wants somebody else to make me even more unhappy. And usually it succeeds. Because one active pain body, during its active period, once it's fed on your mind and other people's reactions, it will subside, go back to the dormant period, the dormancy. Pain bodies do not want to be recognized in themselves for what they are. They don't want the light of your attention on them. They want to flow into your mind, renew themselves through using your mind and using other people. They can only continue to renew themselves if you don't recognize them for what they are. If the recognition isn't there, each time you get overtaken totally. And immediately it's become self, it's become the me, an unhappy me. So to break that is simply to be alert enough, and of course you cannot make yourself be alert enough, that the alertness, the presence that is required to watch the pain body, you can't make, through effort, make yourself alert enough. It's either there or it isn't there. In your case, it's there, because you're here. That is a clear sign that enough presence is there for you to meet the pain body with alertness and watch it. If possible, the moment it arises as an enormous energy impulse. And to watch that. Well, maybe you can't stop it yet. You don't need to stop it. Just watch as it, if possible, catch it before it becomes a thought. Catch it on the energetic level just as it begins to move into your mind. Now that is easier to do with certain pain bodies than with others. If your pain body's frequency is predominantly heavy, of enormous heaviness and density, so when it takes you over, you go, slow and heavy thought processes about how dreadful everything is, just completely pointless and dreadful, and the whole world is just dreadful. Now those are easier to catch because they arise more slowly. Oh, there it is. And then there are other pain bodies that contain a great deal of fire, anger, and they come, and it's very hard to catch them because there's virtually no gap. They arise as an energy phenomenon, but before you know it's an energy phenomenon, it's already become a thought and you're shouting at somebody. It's not who I am, it's not me, it's human pain flowing through me. It's the human condition. And here it is. And what can you do with the human condition, which is the condition of the unsurrendered consciousness for 1,000,000 years? You bring surrender to that. The human pain body is only there because of 1,000,000 years of non-surrender, of egoic delusion. And so you simply bring surrender into that. And with that act of yes, its impersonal nature is revealed. And it's not feeding on your mind anymore, because it can only feed on your mind by pretending to be you. It's only when you believe, when it becomes a self, the pain body energizes the mind structures that we call the self, the mind-made self, amplifies those mind structures, then it's feeding. If the pain body does not flow into that, it cannot gain new energy. And the energy that is there, through allowing it, becomes dissipated. Not that you can't kill it, there's nothing there to kill. It's life energy, but it's trapped, that's all. It becomes the heaviness or the anger. Anger, all it means is enormous amount of life energy at a particular frequency, trapped. And then you bring acceptance to it and presence. They are one. And suddenly, that transmutation could be described as the pain, the energy, the vibrational frequency that was in the pain becoming transmuted into the much higher vibrational frequency of presence. It becomes consumed and it becomes conscious presence. And this is why many people with extremely heavy pain bodies more people with heavy pain bodies have become liberated than people with relatively weak pain bodies. And that's why it's often in people where you would say, he hasn't got a chance, not in this lifetime. Look at his pain body, I mean, just... And you could be very wrong. So my pain body was extremely heavy, the pain body of this form. And it was only through it becoming unbearably heavy, that it dissolved all at once. And it became consciousness. For most people, the dissolving happens over a period of time. This does not mean that you cannot already be free of suffering now, because when you no longer identify with pain body as a personal matter, as a me, as self, when you simply recognize it as an energy movement within yourself, you recognize that, you bring presence to it, you allow it to be, then it cannot renew itself. The transmutation has already started with that. You don't need to do anything as such to become free of pain body. No doing can do it. One could say to be free of pain body, the opposite of doing works. And the opposite of doing is allowing. But allowing implies that you are there as the witnessing presence. Because if you are not there as the witnessing presence, you cannot allow it. And the very essence of the pain body is that it doesn't allow anything. It is the essence of not allowing. So, no doing to become free. The key is allowing it to be there. And this applies on the inner realm to the pain body. It ultimately also applies to certain situations on an external level that you have been stuck in for a long time, or repeatedly. Situations, you always find yourself in a similar situation, and again, and you've tried to get out, new place, new country, new partner, and you're back in the same. In those cases also, no further doing can get you out of that. It is only through allowing this moment to be totally as it is, in other words, the surrendered state, that change will happen. And it will happen quickly through surrender.